Good morning everybody, and welcome back to the Ultimate Fashion History, where we are still on our vintage Egyptian adventure. And in this episode of our vintage Egyptian adventure, we're going really vintage, because I'd love to share with you some footage of the incredible Temple of Karnak, the very first ancient Egyptian temple we visited. And wow, it absolutely blew me away. But before we start, I have to remind you that I, Amanda Halley, am not an Egyptologist. In one of my courses, this massive Fashion History 101 overview course that I teach that goes from Neolithic times all the way through until today, I quickly run through ancient Egypt in one of my classes, just as a refresher really. And while I talk a little about art and architecture and the gods and daily life, the focus is really on clothing and fashion, which doesn't take too long, as the ancient Egyptians not only wore very little, but basically wore very similar attire for 5,000 years. So I'm not an Egyptologist, and yes, I do teach art history as summer school now and again, but again, we run through ancient Egypt very quickly. But if you want to hear a lady talk about ancient Egypt with far more authority than I, Bethany Hughes comes highly recommended. I'm sure a lot of you watch her already. She has a ton of fabulous shows, documentaries about the ancient world, and we watched her show called The Nile, a 5,000-year history before we came on this trip. Retained very little because it was a very intense series, but I highly recommend it and anything that Bethany does. We also love Dr. Joanne Fletcher. She's from up north, Bayek, and she says it like it is. Ramesses the Great, he were all that in a bag of chips. We love her, and both of these very scholastic ladies have wonderful shows, and I think most of their work is on YouTube. So if you actually want to be educated on the Temple of Karnak, these are your go-to gals. I was just a beguiled tourist at the Temple of Karnak, and in that spirit, in this episode, I simply want to share some of the footage and photographs I took at the temple and share my reaction at being in my first Egyptian temple. Basically, this is in the spirit of showing you some holiday snaps, although I do throw a second of fashion history in there just because I couldn't help myself. And here we are at the Temple of Karnak. Wow, about to enter. So I'm just showing you this vista here, down this sort of alley, and these obelisks, and evidently obelisks, of course, they were very spiritual and everything. However, ancient Egyptians thought they just looked good, and they were always supposed to come in a pair, I read, which is so sad that so many of them were taken to Europe by Napoleon and characters such as that. But we've got to do a little bit of fashion history now. Little bit of fashion history. I just spotted something. Little bit of fashion history, folk. Walking over here. Can you see this dude? Oh, sorry. This pharaoh with the starched apron, that starched shenty. That is really something that pleases my fashion history heart. Because, you know, I show these sort of things in class when I do ancient Egypt. And to see these in real life is really something. Okay, we're in the great hypostyle hall of Karnak, which is just incredible. This is the valley. And look, it's a jungle of enormous columns, completely drenched, riddled with hieroglyphs. And girls doing selfies because it's the 21st century. And why not? And you can still see the colour up there because, of course, As you know, all of this would have been painted in vibrant colours once, and you can still see up there some of the colour. And also it's nice and cool. It's much hotter in Egypt than I thought it would be, but it's still wonderful. This is just absolutely fantastic. Look at the way the light falls. And it's not horribly crowded either. This is amazing. Look at this. You can really see the colour here. You know how much I love my palettes. Let's get a bit closer. Look at these cartouches and sea foam. Sea foam and coral. I think they would have been bright green and bright red in their day. But they're a lovely dusty hue now. I think this is incredible. This is one of the best places I've ever been. Best in so many ways. It's so dramatic. And it's so eerie. And I'm trying to imagine what it would have been like in the days of ancient Egypt when there would have been so many people, so much colour and incense and music and chanting. And it's really extraordinary. So evidently this would have a roof on it. So it would have been even cooler, but without the roof. It's gorgeous. And listen to those birds. Look at this wall over here with all of these hieroglyphs. Just incredible. Love this place. Oh, and look at that pop of colour up there.
Yeah.
The original colour. Oh, this is just incredible. To everyone watching this on UFH, I'm not being very, I teach art history sometimes, am I? I'm just too overwhelmed. Just like, oh, look at this, look at that. But it's just incredible. There's so many of them.
I can't imagine there's anywhere in the world you could get.
I think I read that there was hundreds of them. I mean, hundreds of them. How did they get them here? Did they sort of roll them a la Stonehenge or what? These are just this is just beautiful though. I love this sort of colour, sort of fading away. You know, Rupert, it reminds me a bit of Rauschenberg. What about you?
Rauschenberg?
Yes, you know, the presence of absence, the absence of presence, the colour does not. The fading stuff.
Yeah.
Look at this. Loads of hieroglyphs. Don't know what they mean. This gentleman is taking me to show me something incredible. Oh, wow. It's an obelisk through these columns. That is incredible. Thank you. Merci mille fois pour ça. Ça, c'est génial. C'est magnifique. Wow. C'est un honneur. Merci. Wow, that really was beautiful. The reason I'm speaking French is that seems that that's sort of the lingua franca for those of us who don't speak Egyptian Arabic, and that's certainly me. And down there, you see that man there? He's called Andrew. He's part of our cruise. Very nice. Just met all these people today, like an hour ago, over lunch. It's very, very hot, and I am feeling a little bit faint. I'm not good at going around in a group. I was just explaining to Rupert, wasn't I? I'm not good. And I used to be a tour guide. So I do have sympathy, but I'm not good at going around in a heap. I prefer to look at things in my own time. What about you, Rupert?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you know more about it than me already.
Yes. This is incredible though, isn't it? This is incredible.